In today's video, let's talk about those principles that act as a guide or instructions to the government while making laws. They are fundamental in governance of the country and direct the path towards a welfare state. The Directive Principles of State Policy. Borrowed from the Irish Constitution, these principles are enshrined in Part 4 of the Indian Constitution. This part consists of Article 36 to 51. Let's see what these principles are and how are they enforced. Why do we need them? Do they really supplement or contradict with the fundamental rights? Are they the perfect guide to the government? Let's see. But before moving forward, please subscribe to the channel for more such videos and like this video if you found it useful. As I already told you, these principles act as a guide to the government to make a welfare state. These principles actually capture the hopes and aspirations of the people which were to be implemented gradually over a period of time. But they're non-justiciable, which means that no law can be declared unconstitutional on the grounds of inconsistencies with these principles. And it is non-enforceable, which means that the judiciary cannot compel the state to implement these directives. Now you may ask, why is it non-justiciable and non-enforceable when it actually contains the principles to create a welfare state? And why has the legislation been given the freedom to implement it at its own will? Well, there are several reasons present while framing the Constitution. Firstly, the country did not have sufficient financial resources to implement them at that time. And second was that there is a presence of vast diversity and backwardness in the country that would stand in the way of its implementation. Finally, India was a newly born independent state with many preoccupations which might have been crushed under the burden unless it was free to decide the order, the time, the place, and the mode of fulfilling them. Therefore, the constitution makers, taking a pragmatic view, believed in the awakened public opinion rather than court procedures as a sanction for the fulfillment of these principles. Hence, the real force behind them is public opinion, which makes the government answerable to the public during election time. The Constitution expresses the aspirations of the people, and these principles guide the government in fulfilling their aspirations. The directive principles are classified into three broad categories for the sake of convenience: socialistic, Gandhian, and liberal intellectual principles. However, there is no mention of any such classifications in the Constitution. It is just done to logically arrange it for the sake of convenience. Socialistic principles. This category reflects the ideology of socialism and promotes social and economic justice by directing the state authorities to distribute wealth equitably and remove inequalities. It sets the path towards a welfare state wherein the government formulates policies for the welfare of its citizens. If you want to know what the principles are as enlisted in the Constitution, you can look at the description below. It is mentioned there. Gandhian principles. They reflect upon the vision of reconstruction of the Indian state enunciated by Mahatma Gandhi. These include promoting self-government, cottage industries, and cooperative societies. Gandhiji believed that the smaller self-governing units such as the village panchayat would result in true democracy at the grassroots level, allowing each individual at the lowest levels to participate in decision making, which would make each village self-sufficient just like the way it used to be before the British rule began. Other Gandhian principles include prohibition of cow slaughter and consumption of intoxicating drinks and drugs, which he advised people during his speeches. The third category is the liberal intellectual principles, which represent the ideology of liberalism. The prime objective of any liberal government is to remove obstacles that prevent individuals from living freely or from fully realizing their potential. Such obstacles include poverty, disease, discrimination, and ignorance. This category of DPSPs guide the government to achieve its liberal goals. One such directive that falls under the liberal intellectual category is the Uniform Civil Code. It aims to formulate a single law applicable to all religious communities in personal matters such as marriage, divorce, inheritance, etc. The courts have often said in their judgment that the government should move towards a uniform civil code because it not only provides uniformity in the personal laws but it also provides protection to vulnerable sections of the society. It simplifies complex laws, promotes secularism and national integration as enshrined in the preamble, and it also removes the gender biases that prevail today in the existing personal laws that have violated the right to equality. But Article 25, which is a fundamental right, seeks to preserve the freedom to practice and propagate any religion. This comes into conflict with the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code. Hence, its implementation is not the goal of the present government right now. This is one such controversy that has exposed the contradiction between the fundamental rights enshrined in Part 3rd and the DPSPs enlisted in Part 4th of the Constitution. Which one should be given priority? Fundamental rights or DPSPs? For the protection of individual liberty, can we sacrifice the overall welfare of the society? While the fundamental rights deal with the areas of individual freedom and the extent to which the state can restrain it, the DPSPs deal with the positive duties of the state to attain the ideals of social and economic justice. If fundamental rights represent the don'ts for the government, the DPSPs represent the do's. But both aim to build an egalitarian and a welfare society, and together they are considered the soul of the Constitution. Therefore, both fundamental rights and the directive principle of state policy should complement and supplement each other. This balance and harmony between the two is an essential feature of the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. While fundamental rights focus on political democracy, the directive principles intend to fill the vacuum created in Part 3rd by providing the economic and social goals. Hence, the present position of the court is that the fundamental rights enjoy supremacy over the directive principles. Yet this does not mean the principles cannot be implemented. It just means that the Parliament can amend the fundamental rights for its implementation as long as the amendment does not destroy the basic structure of the Constitution. The directive principles may act as a guide to the government while making laws, but they are not flawless. They have their own limitations. Critics have often criticized its non-justiciable character and have called it no better than a New Year's resolution which are broken on the 2nd of January. They have also called it conservative and questioned its applicability in the 21st century. Plus, they are illogically arranged with no consistent philosophy. It mixes up unimportant issues with important economic and social questions. It combines the provisions suggested by science and reason with the provisions that are based purely on sentiment. Despite these criticisms and shortcomings, the directive principles of state policies are fundamental to the governance and intends to create a welfare state that looks after the welfare of its citizens. They serve as a crucial test for the performance of a government wherein the people can examine its policies and programs in light of these principles, which are manifestations of the aspirations of the citizens. So what do you think of the DPSPs? Do they address the present-day aspirations of the people? If not, what principle do you think should be added or removed? Feel free to voice your opinions in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like this video if you found it useful and subscribe to my channel for more such videos. That's all for this video. Thank you.